Hey guys, what is going on? It is Colin C back with another video, and yes, we are going to talk Voyager again. So if you don't want to hear anything about Voyager, go ahead and click off this video, as you've probably seen in the thumbnail. But I do think this is an important video to get out to all of you because it's going to go kind of through the court docs, and I'm going to show you where to find them at, so on and so forth, so you can read them up on yourself. But I thought this personal letter that someone wrote to the judge was just cool. Now, hold on. Big caution sign here real quick. This doesn't mean much, all right? All this letter is doing is letting the judge know and the court know and both sides know that this is normal people. Normal people are being affected by this. Not like the big CEOs, not the big, board of Voyager who have all their money and they're not going to be affected by this at all. This is like moms and dads and, people are 20 years old and they all have all the money in the world in Voyager, or they had 20 grand to invest and it's all gone. It's those people. And that someone wrote a personal letter who has clearly a very good background in finance and in some legality too, because he made some good points in here that, you know what, I'm going to shoot a video on this because he did such a good job. All right, guys, as you can see, this is where you're going to find, and you can see the case number, you can see Southern District Court. This is where you're going to see all of the court filing documents on Voyager. So there's a ton of them. There's pages. You can go through and read all these if you want. Chase has already went through most of them. We've already made videos on most of them, so you don't have to. Now, there are a couple new ones that came out as in like the last couple minutes, because I checked this at about 7:30 this morning, and these three were not on there. But there are some things to go on here that basically there's a lawyer that's going to be trying to go pro hac vice, and what that basically means is he's not in the Southern District of New York, but wants to proceed and wants to be able to preside over this case as well. So you can go through and read those, but it's a lot of legal jargon. The one I want to get to is the letter filed by Greg. Well, you can see it on the screen. So Greg Foss here. And it's a long letter, but it is 100% worth reading if you are deep into Voyager. And I just want to pick out some points that he made that I think was very good. And he's writing it to Judge Willis or Wills. I don't know how he says that, but basically I write this as a customer, a technologist, and a believer in the mission and potential of blockchain technologies, particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum. So big Bitcoin and Ethereum investor. Basically, he goes through that. He's dabbled in crypto for 5 years. He's made very calculated decisions. He calculated his decision on Voyager because he thought it was the safest. He saw that Stephen Ehrlich promising in interviews the yield and loaning things out. They were very professional and seasoned investors. If you look up, guys, if you guys look up Steven's, rap sheet, is that the right word to say? I don't know. If you look up his resume, it's phenomenal. Like, it is extremely good. So that is exactly what Greg here is talking about. And basically, he transferred all of his money and stuff over to Voyager because he thought it was so safe with FDIC insurance, was kind of putting some trust into Steve Ehrlich and things like that. A couple things about, the Fed printing so much money, and that's why he moved it over to crypto, so on and so forth. So some very reasonable and logical, explanations as to why he would put so much money into Voyager and why it made sense to us as well, kind of here at the Crypto Boys, and probably a lot of you if you're watching this video. Anyways, Greg says, I didn't do this without first conducting due diligence. I considered the possibilities of holding all my crypto in a hardware wallet similar to Digital Vault at home, as well as competing companies. The company is publicly listed, implying reasonable stewardship of my assets, which makes total sense. You're thinking you're going to be safer in a company like that. Stephen Ehrlich, was the CEO of E-Trade's financial professional trading division. You would think he would know how to manage assets and get collateral. Number 3, he writes in here, Voyager claimed to have full FDIC protection on USD balances, so I transferred more of that than really I had it even in my bank. Obviously, there's a little confusion between USDC and USD, which he obviously notes in there were that it seems that many customers didn't know the difference, although they should have. But again, that's another gray area. Greg makes a great point here on point 4 here. It says Ehrlich, and by extension the company, continually reassured customers in interviews that their funds were safe, as in our funds. However, as Chase went over in the videos and all the videos previously, is that days before the bankruptcy is that Greg thought about withdrawing his crypto due to market conditions, but reassured by Voyager's press release on June 14th that the company was in good capital position and that the assets were protected. No big deal, right? Combined with their announcement on the Alameda loan, which covered nearly the entire gap of the Three Arrows Capital loan to the point of Alameda loan, it combined with our assets on the platform that have not been lost and 10,000 per day with withdrawal limit. So he still is like, I'm not going to panic because I think I'm all good here. This makes sense why they're doing what they're doing. But even in consideration, the $75 million per month that Alameda basically loaned Voyager, the Chapter 11 filing was a shock to him and really a shock to all of us, we think, because they had stated on how well they were going. It's just going to show that we didn't know. And again, this letter, I want to make this very clear. This letter, and I talked to my aunt, who is also a judge. She said this letter doesn't mean anything. It really may not sway the court at all. It would be like if you got into a criminal case and you just wrote about your buddy, about how good he was, how good of a person he is. He may have messed up this one singular time, but he's a good person overall. It's kind of like saying here, it's humanizing us, saying that, hey, we lost all this money and we were just, thinking this or that. And I understand now the comments are going to be, you guys are idiots, should have been hardware wallets. We understand that. We get that, guys. We really, truly do. It's a different thing there. If that's your only comment, throw them down below. You can roast us. That's cool. But I think Greg makes some very good points in this that I think is worth at least noting. Okay, so here's another great point that a lot of people didn't drive home well enough is that customer cryptocurrency, customers authorization instructs Voyager to hold customers' cryptos, whether purchased on the platform or deposited by customer into the account pursuant of the cryptocurrency deposit mechanisms on its behalf. So basically, you are giving Voyager your money to reinvest for you to then earn yield to then basically send out your money. You wouldn't think that they would send it to Three Arrows Capital uncollateralized to not be able to get your money back when crap hits the fan, if you know what I'm saying. So that's basically what that means is you're giving them your money to invest so you earn a yield. However, you would think it would be safer, better decisions would be made. So although this section goes to note is what Greg says, that in the case of insolvency, much of this case law is not yet established in cryptocurrencies. That's exactly right. So we really don't know what's going to happen. In the calendar of fair legal treatment of consumers' assets would be outright forfeiture to the company because of the company's mistakes. That's crazy. Let me read that again. In their right mind, who would ever consider that a fair legal treatment of a consumer, us, our assets would be outright forfeiture to the company because of the company's mistakes? No one's giving them their money had they have said this out loud, had they have said this in front of everybody. They're not getting the money they were to get to Three Arrows Capital. Otherwise, everybody would have done a lot more research on them. Greg makes an excellent point here. And here is the big thing that I think Greg makes the greatest point here that we haven't made a whole lot of, is that then issue fair market value claims on the assets at the time of insolvency when the underlying crypto assets are worth way more. So they're going to try to give you it back at the price it was when the insolvency happened. Crypto's going to run up by then. It's already up about 15% right now as we're talking. Ethereum's up 30 or 40%. So you're not even going to get those gains, even if you have the Ethereum, which Joe and I did. We bought ours at 1,500, and we're still going to get it back at as if we bought it at 1,100 or 900 or whenever the insolvency was filed. So that is a big thing to understand that. Why wouldn't every company ever just do this? Just, bankruptcy, and we're going to try to reorganize. We're going to reorganize. So he makes a great point here that I think a lot of people are overlooking and I think is worth bringing to some of our attention. Here's another thing that Greg makes a good point. My story is not unique. It is unfortunately the story of particularly all Voyager customers, most of whom are less likely, less financially literate than I am, because Greg said he's done a lot in finance and all of that good stuff, management risk, all that. He clearly has his ducks in a row. But like he says here, but all positioning as an entity that is a custodian of our assets, not the owner, not the owner, a custodian of our assets, and their genuine intention and pragmatic legal steps to protect its customers and their assets. At the moment, a majority of lifelong assets accumulated through some ups and downs as an entrepreneur. Basically, he gives his story saying, I put most of my money in here. He's going to be fine. But he says at the bottom here, people are talking about suicide. People are talking about they don't have enough money to pay their rent, their daughter's education. I mean, if you guys just go and read this on Reddit, it is crazy what people are thinking about doing, because, you know, they thought they were in the safest asset or in the safest exchange or safest brokerage that could possibly be, and they got burnt. So he goes into now, so why am I writing this letter? I hope to make a clear position of nearly all Voyager customers and crypto holders as expressed by thousands of us via online forums, Twitter, Reddit, and others. Who owns the hard digital assets to the scheme to provide only fair market value? First and foremost, we just want our crypto back. He says it perfectly. We want our crypto back at the fair market value. That is what we want. We want our actual coins back. We don't want some, you know, coins that are completely gone and overtaken by the VGX or whatever reorganized company. They're going to be worthless. They're going to be worth nothing. And maybe eventually in years and years they can be worth something, but we're not going to be able to hit the dips now. And when you had all your money and all that saved up, now we have to wait for all of this reorganization, reconciliation process and fraud prevention process to be over. You're not even going to be able to use your USD when you get it back. So what's the freaking point? So what Greg's trying to say is that it is in Voyager's best interest to only issue us customers claims on today's value and not when they went insolvent. As earlier expressed, we bought these coins with our hard-earned money, fully believing Voyager was loaning our assets out and has absolutely no claim of ownership over them. If Voyager gets away with this, crypto can easily be worth 2 to 5x what it currently is, and we're getting paid back a fraction. Yes, a fraction of the fair market value. That is huge. He makes such a good point here. Voyager customers been made aware that the company took the position that they owned assets and that the news would be spread like wildfire across the crypto community, and Voyager would have been failed venture from the onset. I would not have, now here's a big line, I would not have even for a moment considered parking my assets within them in such a scenario. Many people wouldn't have. That is why we think the deception was big, and it may not have been a lie like Chase said. It may not be some kind of legal action that can be had, but it was deceiving, and now they're just going to take our hard-earned money and they're going to walk away scot-free. That's what it's looking more and more like. And there are a couple scenarios that Greg even goes over in this letter that I think are worth mentioning that could happen, that could be good as well. So he does go over something that I think is worth noting is that, you know, who deserves these? Is it the customer, us? Is it the creditors, us, that gave them our money to hopefully have a better idea of where they were going to lend them out and get their collateral? Or is it the multi-million-dollar professional marketing and legal structures of the safe exchange, brokerage I think too, but exchange works? Voyager sacrificed these coins to them simply because they made reckless decisions, issuing enormous uncollateralized loans. That is insane. Nobody but the founders and the management of Voyager, who largely divested in the past year, cares to save a legal entity without a heart, soul, or life support. When compared to all of us individuals or families whose lives are directly impacted by this current financial freezing, likely loss of substantial portion of our assets. Exactly right. Ownership of Voyager and our Voyager tokens. We don't care about ownership of Voyager's equity, not their token. Most Voyager customers do not own either. He makes just so many good points, which I do suggest you go in and read the rest of these. I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible, but I think it is worth it. As we've been saying before, the best thing that can happen, honestly, the best thing, it's not even really the market going up. The best thing that can happen, and Greg says it right here, the only exception to this might be in a very respected large player were to acquire Voyager, financially back it, return our crypto assets intact, and provide, in this case, customers will be far more likely to keep their assets on the platform. Exactly right. Because who's going to want to get their asset back as soon as they do their USD, and it's all going to rip off again? Then Voyager's going to have another problem. That's probably part of the reason why they don't want to, give everything back, is because they know it's all gone right away. So they're going going to have to make other rules to save the people whose crypto's on there. So the best case scenario, guys, is some big player that has big time financial backing, a trusted name comes in and just buys the whole thing, makes all the customers whole again, and we have to keep it on their platform or exchange for a certain amount of time. But really, that's the only way it's going to work, because Voyager coming back, it's going to take so long that at that point it could be the following bull run. You could be in the following bear market by the time you even get your stuff. Like Chase said, bankruptcies can take years. You may get your USD back before that, but thinking about you're going to get your crypto back, I mean, it's crazy. It's not going to happen. So bringing a big company in to make it whole again is the best way to do it, and Greg hits the nail on the head here. Here we go, guys. Last thing, putting it another way, the ideal outcome for Voyager customers, or to get it all as much as possible back and their USD back, is absolutely not the fair market value. It's absolutely not the fair market value at the time of bankruptcy. That is total bullshit. Honestly, this may require a buyout or financial injection from an established third party. If that happens to bring along with a renewed optimism, then equity may be appropriate to make a gap if it still exists. But it is far inferior outcome than getting much of our crypto back and USD back, even if it means Voyager ceasing to exist. So what he's saying, guys, like I just said, getting a big, huge financial party to come in and back them and eventually figure out a way to take them over, because no one's going to trust Voyager again, especially the buffoons that decided to give out an uncollateralized loan. Yeah, go ahead. I'll give you a loan for $35,000. Nope, just give it back to me whenever. No big deal. Well, that didn't seem like it's a great idea for you to do personally, or for anybody else to do, especially someone giving out our money. Now, if someone can buy them, make everybody whole again, maybe we can make this happen. I know they still are in some kind of talk somewhere. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But I just thought it was worth bringing this up, because it's a real person giving what we all feel in a very eloquent way. Clearly, Greg knows what he's talking about. He's clearly done the research before, and this is where a lot of us are sitting right here, right now. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I wanted to show you guys this. I thought it was worth it to bring to your attention, and if you guys could like the video, get it out to more people. It really does help out the Crypto Boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. The Crypto Boys ain't going anywhere during the bear market. We're here to help you guys out. Follow us on Twitter, all the other social medias, and as always, guys, we do appreciate you rocking with the fittest crypto channel on YouTube, and I'm out.